Hello, and welcome to this online training webinar, Child Development Part 2, brought to you by the Foster Care Institute. I'm Dr. John DeGarmo, the director and founder of the Foster Care Institute, and a consultant and trainer for foster parents, as well as an author, and perhaps most importantly to me, a foster and adoptive parent myself. Our goal during this webinar is to increase the awareness of how a child develops. We will gain knowledge about how a child develops and how to best address each stage in an appropriate fashion. Now, if you've been following me for some time, you might know that I've had a number of children come through my own home. Indeed, I've had 50 plus kids come through my home. And this is what my family looks like today. I have adopted 3 children, and I have 3 biological children and several children from foster care. So I know a little bit on a personal level about child development. Now, before we go any further, if you have not watched the first part of this webinar, Child Development Part 1, I strongly encourage you to do so, because in that webinar, we look at the first 2 stages of normal child development and how children in foster care might struggle with that. And we also looked at strategies on how to best aid those children who might be struggling with normal development. During these next few slides during this webinar, we're going to be re-examining what we looked at in the initial webinar, just as a reminder for you. To begin with, the normal development of a child can often pose some difficult times for even the most patient of parents. Even if you have the patience of Job, so to speak, normal development of a child can oftentimes be challenging. As a child moves through different stages of his life, every stage comes with its own set of developmental tasks. Children in foster care, though, our children in foster care who come to live with us may have this normal development disrupted due to the trauma, the anxieties, the abuse, the neglect, the abandonment they may have faced before being placed into your home. Now, as a foster parent, you will be better equipped to help every child that comes through your home if you not only understand the normal development of a child, but also some of the risks, some of the challenges, some of the potential problems that are often associated with children from foster care as they age from birth to 18 years of age. Make no mistake, every child is a unique individual. Every child is a special person and very, very different. As a result, every child will develop differently than the next, with children developing at different speeds and at different rates. Now, if you've had children in your own home, you know that each child is different and they develop at a different stage, at a different speed. Some might walk before others, some might speak before others, some might talk before others, some might have motor skills before others. In general, there are 4 main categories that every child will develop in his development, will experience in his own development. These include the cognitive stage, the emotional stage, the physical stage, and the social stage. Looking at the cognitive stage, as a child grows in age, he will experience growth intellectually on an intellectual level. His language will increase in terms of his development of his vocabulary as he begins to learn to speak, begins to learn the alphabet, and eventually gains a larger personal vocabulary, the words he's able to say. His conversation will go up, and his writing skills will increase as well. We all know, those of us who care for children in need, that trust is essential for every single child. In truth, in order for a child to progress normally, he must learn to trust not only those who care for him, but trust those around him. Trust the environment that surrounds him. Trust those who come in and out of his life. He must be able to recognize what is safe, as well as he must recognize what might be dangerous or harmful to him. His caretakers, those he lived with, whether it's his parents, his guardians, his grandparents, his foster parents, they must be trusting, loving individuals who will teach him how to properly understand and recognize and express his own feelings and his own emotions. It is during the physical stage where a child grows in size. Their ability to crawl and walk and run and jump, those are our gross motor skills, will also increase. Along with this, the child's ability to work with his hands, cutting, scissors, writing, holding crayons and markers, holding a baseball bat or a pencil, holding dinner utensils, all these fine motor skills, they will increase at the same time. Finally, we come to the last category, the social category. This is where the development of social skills is so necessary. It is so essential. It is so important in order for each child to successfully interact with people his age, his peers, as well as form a healthy, positive, trusting relationship with others. At the same time, it is also important that each child develop the ability to empathize or to feel compassion with others and understand the needs of others, at the same time react to them in a positive and a acceptable, socially acceptable manner. Children placed in foster care, though, often exhibit, as you well know, significant behavior problems as compared to those children who come from traditional homes. These children who have experienced such abuse, who have experienced neglect or some sort of trauma in their life, are generally more likely to be delayed in development or may even regress to a younger stage due to the stress that they are struggling with, that they are challenged with, that is overwhelming them. The stress they suffer from. Even more so, many children in foster care also suffer from internalizing their concerns, internalizing their own fears. This causes additional harm as a result. Now, children in foster care are more likely to fall further and further behind in their development while they are in a foster care environment, while they're placed in foster care. It can be even the grandest, best, most compassionate, stable environment. At the same time, these children who are placed in foster care are more likely to fall further behind in the development as a result of the trauma and the anxieties they may have faced. Now, generally, a child will develop certain skills and abilities as he ages. Again, during the first webinar, Child Development Part 1, we looked at the first two stages. Now we're going to look at the last two stages. School age, years 5 to 12. It is at this time, this age, where the appetite of a child begins to increase. He likes to play with his peers. Earlier, he liked to play by himself. Now he's discovering people his own age, and he enjoys playing with people his own age. It is also at this time where the child may begin to lie, and we've looked at lying in another webinar, or tell on others. I'm telling, I'm sure you've heard that before in your own home if you've had kids. And children in foster care may become sick quicker to exposure at school. In fact, that is for all children. All children can become sick quicker due to what they experience at school. Because school, as you well may know, is a bed of sickness. Children come to school with running noses, with coughs, with colds, perhaps lice, and your child may have exposure to that. It is also during this school age where children become more private around adults, generally when they hit the age of 9 to 12. They become very, very active physically. This is when children are learning to play soccer and softball and football and baseball and running and jumping and having a great time. As he begins to seek his own identity as a human being, he may become more argumentative with you. And he also may become very, very competitive, whether it's in sports or with the other people living in his own home. He is often sensitive to his own personal failures, his own shortcomings. He recognizes that and he becomes very, very sensitive to that. And he may become defensive about that as well. Now, over 1/3 of the children in foster care are between the ages of 5 to 12. Thus, there's a good chance the child placed in your home falls under this category. While some of these children are placed under foster care for the very, very first time, many suffer from what is known as multiple placements. Multiple placement is the more a child is moved from one home to another home, from one placement to another placement. Multiple times, they're placed in multiple homes a number of times. The more difficult it is for that child to place trust in you, to place trust in a counselor, to place trust in a social worker or caseworker, to place trust in anyone. Some children may come to believe in foster care that they are unwanted, that they are unloved, that frankly, they don't matter. This is the age group where they begin to question, do my parents love me? Did I do something wrong? Is it my fault? Does anybody care for me? These children may lash out to you as a result of the feelings that are overwhelming them, the stresses that are causing them great anxiety. They may lash out to you or other adults. Do not take this personally. It has nothing to do with you. It is the age group, and they are struggling with the emotions that can quickly wash over them and overwhelm them. As we've seen before in other webinars, schools may be a place where they simply feel they do not belong. You see, as a child from foster care goes from one home to another home, many times they go from one school to another school, and they quickly fall behind. They quickly fall behind. And as they go to another new school, it's difficult for them to make friends, and they just feel they don't belong. This can cause yet another problem in their educational journey. And again, we've looked at the challenges of schools for kids in foster care in other webinars. Now, like all children, your child in foster care just wants to be loved. And he strongly and desperately wants a family that he can belong to. Because when he goes to school, he sees the other children, and he sees their families, and he sees what he is missing. Remember, as a foster parent, you are not his mother, you are not his father, you're not his family. He wants to go back home. It is this age group where he really wants to be around other adults or other parental figures. And you may see children between this age group hang around you. In fact, they may cling to you. They may cling to you whenever you leave the room. They may interrupt conversations with other people that you're having just so they can get attention from you. You see, he just wants this. He wants acceptance. He wants to find acceptance in your eyes. He wants your love. He desperately wants it. And that's why he's clinging to you. That's why he's interrupting conversations that you are having with other people. That's why when you leave the room, he becomes very afraid. Now, it is also this age group where children in foster care often feel guilt. They feel conflicting emotions. You see, when he has a visitation with his own birth parents, he may feel he has to choose between you and his birth family. This is a very, very emotionally difficult time for a child. Some children in foster care struggle with the feeling that they're betraying their own biological family, their own birth mother and father, by not only living with you, but beginning to enjoy the time with you and perhaps beginning to love you as well. They feel they are letting their family down and betraying them. And this is an emotionally difficult time for all involved and can add a great deal of stress to the child and to your household. These children may also tend to feel insecure, and they may take this insecurity out during dinner or during their eating. They may overeat. They may gorge themselves on large amounts of food. Breakfast, lunch, dinner time may become times when he tries to eat anything placed in front of him. At the same time, anorexia can be a result of his insecurity as well. Your child's self-esteem may be very, very low as he denies himself any sense of any kind of accomplishment in his life. He refuses any praise that you may show him. Learning disabilities are also very, very common in foster children who fall in this age group because the child is going to school. The teacher's recognizing that there are learning developments. He's delayed. He's further behind academically. And this is when you may begin to experience and discover this. He may have a difficult time adjusting to his new classroom environment as he's placed in yet to another home, another school. And he may have a difficult time adjusting to his new teachers and to his fellow students. This is the age group where behavioral problems in school may begin to surface. There may be intense bouts of anger and frustration he faces and he experiences at the situation he's in. Remember, he does not want to be in a foster care home. No child does. And he will likely not know how to properly handle or process the emotions that are swirling inside of him. You may see defiance. You may see aggression. There may be destructive behavior from the child as a result of this. Now, those children who have experienced sexual trauma in their life before being placed into your home may also express interest in inappropriate sexual behavior, or may become sexually mature quicker than children their own age. Now, I must warn you, if you have a child in this age group and they are on social media in some sense and they have been sexually abused in some way, you need to be checking their online devices to see if they are reaching out to somebody in a sexual fashion, if they are sexting somebody or falling into a trap from a child sex predator. So how do you help these children in this age group? To begin with, encourage him to meet with a counselor on a regular basis. We've looked at this in other webinars. You are an expert in parenting, without a doubt, but you are not an expert in everything. There are trained professional counselors who have spent years and years of training on how to best address these issues with children. It's not a failure on your behalf to take a child to meet with a professional therapist or a trained counselor. In fact, I encourage you to do so. Talk to your child's caseworker about setting up regular appointments with a trained youth counselor who can help him understand the feelings that he is struggling with, the feelings that are overwhelming him, the feelings that he simply does not understand. Encourage him to share those feelings with you. When you see that he's troubled, when he's acting out or he's withdrawing, when he's lashing out at you or he's being quiet and isolating himself, encourage him to share those feelings with you, with his caseworker, and with a counselor. Every child needs to be spoken to with some sort of praise every single day, and he needs to hear this from you. Speak to him one-on-one every single day on a personal level. Find out what your child in foster care is interested in. What are his hobbies? What kind of sports does he like to do? What is his favorite sporting team? What other activities does he enjoy in his life? And then find ways for him to participate in those hobbies, in those sports, in those activities. And at the same time, give him your full support and encouragement. Encourage him the entire time. Whether he loves to draw, or loves horseback riding, or loves to play baseball or soccer, or he loves to color or paint or sing or do music, whatever it may be, find the opportunities for him to do that and encourage him every day. See that he gets exercise every single day on a regular basis, whether it's through sports or through gym or through some fun outdoor activity at your own home. Go outside and play baseball or basketball with him. Run around with him, play frisbee with him, whatever it may be. Find opportunities for him to have exercise. Healthy diets are so important, and it's quite likely that a child placed in your home has never had access to nutritional meals. So make sure you provide him a nutritious diet and encourage him to eat healthy snacks instead. When his body begins the process of that puberty, answer those questions to him, even though it may be awkward, even though it may be uncomfortable. He needs the honest answers, and you are the adult in his life. See that he gets plenty of sleep every single night, particularly during school nights. When we give a child a chore, a responsibility, a duty, we give them a sense of accomplishment when they finish it, and we give them an opportunity to be praised. So, find chores around your own home that are appropriate to his age group. This will give him a sense of responsibility. It lets him know that you trust him enough to do the chore you've given him. It gives him a sense of belonging, that he feels that he fits into your home. And when he finishes that chore, whatever it may be, however big or small, make sure you thank him and praise him for it. He needs help with schoolwork, I imagine, and you are there to help him with it. Help him with his schoolwork or find a tutor who will help him with it. And communicate with his teachers on a daily, regular basis, if need be. Encourage him to make new friends at school. Check with their parents, the new friends. Encourage him to invite his new playmates over to your home for friendly visits and some playtime that, of course, is supervised by you. But most of all, he needs to have you speak to him in positive terms. You might be the first adult in his life who has ever given him praise, has ever given him words of encouragement, who's ever spoken to him in a positive fashion. Build up his self-esteem and give him plenty of love. This is what he craves and needs from you. If he's not getting it from you, he will go someplace else, and that can lead to danger. The last age group is the teen years, ages 13 to 18. This is when they complete puberty. Growth spurts in a child may become very, very common as they begin to reach their adult height by the end of their teenage years. He begins to understand that he is a sexual being, and he may experiment sexually. He may begin to consider his own future. What will happen when he leaves your home? What will happen when he graduates from high school? What will he do? And this is the age group where he will want to sleep more. In fact, he needs to sleep more as his body begins to change into his adulthood. He needs to get more sleep. Most children this age will begin to seek greater independence from the adult figures in their life, and they may become moody. This is normal. He's concerned about how he looks to others. He wants to fit in. He's concerned about his body and his clothing image around his own peers. And he begins to be influenced by his friends and peers at the same time. He may begin to question the authority figures in his life, his teachers, his caseworkers, you, the foster parent, and he become more argumentative as he begins to question this authority. This is the age where teenagers try to find their own identity. At the same time, it is a time where teens try to cut those apron strings from you. Cut those apron strings from their birth parents. Cut those apron strings from the caseworkers as they attempt to gain their own independence. Now that the child has been in foster care for some time, he will have more than likely moved from placement to placement, from home to home, that multiple placement. Years of being placed from one home to another home, from one school to another school, often brings with it anger, frustration, sadness, loneliness, and lack of trust from being shifted from one house to another house, from being shifted from one family to another family. You will have to have tremendous patience with your teen from foster care as he struggles with the daily conflicting emotions that go along every day in his body, as he begins to understand his role in the world, his role and place with your family, his role and place in the school. To be sure, trust is one issue he will have a very difficult time with. Why should he trust you as his foster parent? Why? Why should he trust you? He's gone from one home to another home. The adults in his life have hurt him, have abused him, have let him down. He may feel that they have all betrayed him. As a result, he may build up walls around himself as he attempts to safeguard his own feelings, to protect himself, if you will. Let there be no mistake. You will have a difficult time breaking through those walls. You'll have a difficult time establishing trust with this child, as he believes there's no reason to place trust in you. He has been lied to. He's been given mistruths. He has been led asunder. He has been betrayed by those people in his life. So lies and mistruths are often common with foster teens, and you are going to have a difficult time knowing when he's sincere and knowing when he's misleading you. He may be angry towards you, towards his caseworkers, towards his teachers, and he may express that anger towards you. Again, do not take it personally. He may challenge your rules and expectations within your own home and argue with you about these rules. He may find the rules in your home ridiculous. He may resent the fact that he is being forced to live with people he does not know. He feels no control whatsoever. Indeed, he may try to break as many of your own rules in your house and try to make your life as miserable as possible, hoping that you ask that he be removed from your home because he believes that if he leaves your home, he will return to his biological family members. He may seem highly withdrawn and depressed. He may not wish to be included in any of your family activities, along with any sort of social interaction. He may simply want to go to his room every day after school. He may not show any appreciation for anything that you do for him. And seldom will he thank you for meeting his needs, for giving him a place to live, for showing him kindness and love. As he's been placed into your own home against his will, it's this age group where he may try to run away. His body will continue to change physically, and he'll become self-absorbed in those changes. Hormonally, he will continue to develop, and his body will soon grow as he advances towards adulthood. Peer acceptance by people his own age, will be so important to him, and he's going to try to fit in with his fellow students. School will be very challenging for him. His school records may not be complete as he goes from one school to another school. Generally, children in foster care are a year and a half behind academically. He may struggle in school. The learning disabilities he's challenged with may place him in a grade lower than other students his age in school, which causes him further embarrassment, additional anxiety. His behavior in school may also be challenging as he lashes out due to the frustration, due to his guilt, his grief, his embarrassment, his isolation. It is unknown. Just the emotions he's struggling with. He may lash out towards those teachers and authority figures in school. This may help to explain why youth in foster care will drop out of school at a 55% rate. So how do you help him? How do you best address these issues? Well, again, building trust with him is absolutely essential. Be patient. Do not expect him to come to your home trusting what you say, trusting what you do, trusting you in general. It's going to take time. Let me repeat that. It's going to take time for him to learn to trust you. Give him that space. Give him that time to do that, to learn how to trust you. Please do not make promises to him that you are unable to keep. Find out what his interests are and encourage him to pursue those interests. Those interests may lead to a career possibility for him. He needs to be accepted by his peers, he feels. One way to do that is to have him in school clubs, activities, sports, whatever it may be. Help him to find those and help him to enroll in those. When he leaves your home, when he ages out of the foster care system, what will he do? That's a question he's asking himself. Help him to research possible careers for him. Whether it's in a college, a technical school, or a military, help him research possible careers for him when he graduates from high school. And remind him that dropping out of high school will have incredibly severe negative consequences for him. He needs you. He needs you to encourage him to express how he feels. Encourage him to express his emotions with you and share with you, as well as a counselor. He needs to get his feelings out. Encourage him to do so. Listen to him. Listen to him when he begins to talk to you. He will need to learn that expressing his feelings is natural, it's healthy. The alternative can be disastrous. Of course, you need rules and consequences in your house, and you need to establish those rules and consequences for your household as soon as possible, as soon as he moves into your home. Set those boundaries and guidelines and rules and consequences in your house when he comes to live with you. Assign him chores and responsibilities in your house, allowing him to feel part of your family. And again, give him that sense of importance and that sense of self-worth. Now, as we examined earlier, he's going to try to establish his own sense of identity. And as he does so, allow him to be a teenager. Allow him to be a teenager. Give him your permission to try to fit in with the other students his age, the other kids his age. Give him permission to allow him to have his own style of dress, as long as that style of dress, those clothing styles, are appropriate. Consider setting up a homework station for him at your home, and maybe at the kitchen table or a corner of the room. Create a time where he is to attend his homework every night, perhaps when he gets home from school or after dinner. Let him know that you will be there to help him with his homework as much as you can. Do not allow him to have computer technology in his room at night, alone and unsupervised, because you do not know who he is contacting, and you do not know who is contacting him. For more on this topic or other foster care issues, visit the Foster Care Institute. Find me on Twitter and find me on Facebook. And there's my email address as well. Please email me at drjohndegarmo@gmail.com if I can answer these questions, or any of the questions you may have. I encourage you to pick up the book Helping Foster Children in School. If you have a child in the age groups that we looked at today in this webinar, this is an essential book for you. And I have several other books as well. My friend, this is a very difficult age group. This is a very difficult time for his development, for him and for you. I want to thank you for not giving up on him. I want to thank you for encouraging him. I want to thank you for supporting him, for caring for him, and for loving him. For the Foster Care Institute, I'm Dr. John DeGarmo. Thank you for all that you do.